Wait, what? Parang naging restricted. Wait lang, ito talaga tong TikTok na to. DDS talaga tong TikTok. Nilagay ko lang sa live na ang topic ay Duterte ganon. Ano na daw? Dangerous daw? Pudol? Ayan tayo eh. Talaga tong TikTok talaga oh. Team DDS. Ay, Team China talaga. Ano ba naman to? Tingnan natin. Talagang shadow ban tayo dito. Walang yan talaga itong TikTok to. Alright guys. Welcome back dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Medyo hindi natin nahabol kanina. Hirap talagang time zone difference. Tapos, hindi pa nag-on tong heater namin dito. Yan naman nabang class. Napaka fourth world level. Reklamo kasi nanginginig na kami kagabi. Problema naman, ang init naman. Mainitin naman tayo dahil Baguio boy. So, ayaw ko rin na masyadong makapal yung mga um, hindi, maraming makapal ang mukha ng politiko pero yung blanket natin. So, ang hirap. Sobrang mainit. Pagtanggal mo, sobrang lamig. So, ewan ko nangyari dito. Binubudol yata tayo eh. Nagreklamo ko bakit in-off naka-temperature ano daw adjusted daw siya pero hello sobrang lamig 10 degrees na nga yata 5 degrees na ng kagabi winter mode na so hopefully hindi tayo lagnat ulit ang hirap nun nakaka-stress yun pag nilagnat ka anyways guys speaking of binubudol my goodness, pag-usapan natin ang budol politics sa Pilipinas, otherwise known as populism or performative governance, no? So basically, yung ating instinctive understanding of the concept of budol, at of course yung technical academic understanding of the idea of performative governance ay napakalapit to each other, guys. So pag-usapan natin ng konti yan bakit tayo nandito? Bakit tayo umabot sa isang situation na meron kang Joel the Innocent, Cheese naglilinis ng ganon, tapos meron tayong mga nagka-press conference si Kuya, biglang, ay, may tawag, very spontaneous, ay, biglang, ay, kasama pa yung microphone, kunyari, nagtumatawag na off the record, yan, yung mga ganun, marami tayong nakikita ganyan, tapos, of course, budol sa lahat ay of course itong pinaka bagong idolo ng mga ka-DDS natin dyan. The Kiko, the most amazing rock star. Sabi nga ni, hot na na Barzaga man. Talagang napakagaling talaga itong mga idols talaga ng mga DDS. Napakagaling. Hindi lang magaling guys. Galit na galit sa korupsyon. Galit na galit guys sa lahat ng klaseng masasamang bagay sa ating politika. Yan ang pinakagusto ko talaga sa mga ating mga ka-DDS talaga guys. Zero self-awareness, zero respect almost for facts, zero okay. Pero guys, on a serious note, we have to understand bakit tayo umabot sa ganitong situation. On a serious note, why are we in a situation whereby parang lumalala sa totoo lang ang sitwasyon natin and why I've been worried about itong pwede natin tawagin mutations in populism in the Philippines and why these mutations are getting worse and worse by the day in a way that nagiging more tragicomic. Parang nakakatawa pero nakakalungkot. Hindi mo alam kung iyak ka or matatawa ka na lang or minsan sabay-sabay mo na lang gagawin lahat. Kaya minsan yung mga ibang kaibigan natin na hindi naintindihan ng Tagalog or minsan mas nagtatagalog tayo sa ibang lingwa tapos yung mga ibang afam natin na friends na sabi na ano bang what are your vlogs about? You're like always laughing. Sabi kong sabihin na yan ang tawag namin na dark humor. But we have to explain guys. We have to understand from a scientific from a kind of a political science, sociological literature, bakit tayo umabot sa ganitong situation kung saan the attention economy is completely dominated by people that perhaps or arguably deserve it the least, right? And bakit ang dali natin magpabudol? Bakit ang dali natin ma-impress? Bakit ang dali mag-breakout and suddenly pwede maging hero, pwede maging alam mo na, savior, biglang pwede ka na maging good governance champion. Lahat ng mga bagay na yun, guys, we have to understand that. Right? We have to understand where is this coming from. And if you look at it, guys, the concept that will best understand us, right? Huwag kayong makulit. The concept that best will help us best understand this issue is the concept of performative governance, right? Or performative populism, right? Actually, may sinulat tayo about that. And I drew actually on an extensive literature, right? Including political science literature. So I wrote about this a long time ago. Itong concept ng performative governance, right? If we had an article about this few years ago during pandemic kung saan, what the heck is going on? Sino ka? Oh my God. Dude, sino ka ba? What the... Ano tong... Ano bang TikTok na to? Bigla na lang may nakiki-live sa atin. Ano ba naman to? Wag kayong makulit. Okay? Just go ahead to turn this off tuloy. Alright, ulitin natin Ano ba yan? So, ito yung concept ng performative governance. We have to understand this. Hindi ito unique sa Pilipinas. Nangyari yan all around the world. And this is something that I observed for quite some time, especially during Digong's time. I think we really saw the full crystallization ng itong concept ng performative governance. Ito. So, I wrote about this actually back in 2020. So, isang almost kalating dekada na na diniscuss natin tong issue na to. Right? And as I said, what we're seeing here is actually a mutation of this problem. We're seeing more and more versions of this, and this is getting worse and worse. Now, just to read for you guys, all right? After all, gusto naman natin education na lang ating mga discussion dito, di ba? So, one definition that's provided by existing political science literature, including by Dr. Ding, for instance, is this, guys. Tignan nyo, swak na swak yan sa nakikita natin. Right? So, basically, ang argument dito is, sa panahon ngayon, dahil sa dami nangyari, daming mga conflicting ideas, daming mga pangyayari, daming datos, daming reports, daming confusing issues, the state often struggles to meet citizens' demands but confronts strong public pressure to do so. So, ang taas ng demand for good governance, ang taas ng demand for delivery, ang taas ng demand in terms of meeting yung standards ng tao, ang dami mga like points by which people can pressure the government. Social media is just one of them, and then you have mainstream media, so on and so forth. In other countries, you also have lobbying groups, among others. So what happens here is that, so anong usually naging response ng mga politiko, right? Who are representation of the state institution. So what happens there is that there is a very high incentive, especially for yung mga magaling na politiko. Hindi necessarily magaling na leaders, pero magaling politiko is that they respond by engaging in what political scientists call performative governance, right? So ano yung performative governance? Theatrical deployment of language, symbols, and gestures to foster an impression of good governance among citizens. So performative governance should actually be distinguished from other types of state behavior. Kasama dyan yung paternalism, yung nakita natin sa Singapore na ito yung sinasabing Lee Kuan Yew, gaya natin. Or minsan meron kang substantive satisfaction. Actually, magaling talagang gobyerno. Sabi natin sa mga Scandinavian countries, usually you see one of the highest qualities of governments. But also in the case of Singapore, you can say both paternalism and also substantive satisfaction with government performance. And also, of course, sometimes talaga nakakulang ng gobyerno, so talaga the government has to respond and make adjustments lest they face the wrath of people during elections, among other things, right? Now, itong performative governance actually happens all around the world. For instance, in this article in World Politics by Dr. Ding, he was looking at even the case of China, a supposedly very efficient, successful state system. Even meron sila mga ways by which they can create an impression of very successful, effective government. The assumption there is that sa unang banda, there's a lot of pressure us to perform. Pangalawa, there's not enough attention paid by people to actually how difficult good and effective governance is. Pangatlo, in order to do good or stay in power, you have to be as popular as possible. So basically, there's constantly this pressure to be more performative than actually performance-based. As I said, there are cases whereby there's indeed performance-based governance. There are cases whereby yung pressure galing sa mga tao ay actually tumulong sa gobyerno para maging mas magaling. And then may cases na talagang substantively may mga tao na, hindi lang magaling sa PR, magaling talaga, mahusay talaga. So case in point is Vico Sotto, right? So Vico Sotto is getting more and more media mileage Not because Vico Soto is performative per se, but because he is really performance-based. Nevertheless, when Vico Soto has the microphone, has the spotlight, hindi naman siya nagkakalat, di ba? He does very well, he explains very well, and he captures. So, there might be some communication skills there, pero hindi performative. Fundamentally performance-based yung mga katulad ni Vico Soto, right? So, now, then you have to distinguish that from what you can call performative, which is impression management. Usage of certain symbols, language, gestures, mga ganun, para magbigay ng impression na napakausay, napakagaling, talagang ito, di ba? Ito ay talagang talagang napakagaling na leader. I mean, if you look at it, the perfect case is really Digong. I mean, it's very hard to find someone who has been as successful anywhere in the world. I mean, I would say than Digong. And if you look at Digong, talagang master siya ng performative governance. Because, remember, even at the height of yung pandemic, sa sobrang daming kapalpakan na nangyari ng pandemic period and all of that, ang gagawin ni Digong is, inaalala niyo yung mga midnight, yung mga midnight sessions niya, biglang, sabi niya, ang hirap naman talaga ito, hindi ako makatulog, although alam naman natin, nocturnal talaga siya, hindi naman siya nagtatrabaho sa araw, puro tulog lang, at kung gising naman, baka nagkakalat lang. But anyways, archive na, so wag na natin, masyado, bullying masyado. But going back to this, I mean, you could see Digong could get away with so much because Digong was very good in terms of being relatable. Digong was very good in terms of communicating his emotions. And was very good in eliciting emotions. In fact, as I explained in my article, Duterte, the Art of Performative Governance, he has that instinctive sense of what the Argentinian scholar, Argentinian scholar Ernesto Laclau termed as ito, in-explain ko dito yan. So, ang magaling kasi mga, magaling sila mag-hanash, diba? Magaling mag-hanash yung mga populist, diba? So, empty signifier. That's a technical term that Ernesto Laclau used. Basically, hanash. Magaling mag-hanash. So, sasabihin ni Digong, nahihirapan ako, di ko na alam gagawin ko, tapos magjo-joke siya, tapos dark humor, tapos self-deprecating. Next thing you know, million sa ating mga kabayan sasabihin, ay, kawawa naman, alam mo, ang dami ko na-meet nung time na yun na aminado sila palpak si Digong. Aminado sila hindi ganun kagaling si Digong. Pero ang gagawin nila, hindi naman kasalanan ni Digong eh. Or, at least si Digong, tinitry niya naman eh. Or, nakakawa naman si Digong, matanda na gano'n. Pas kung yun pala, bakit yung ginawang presidente? Or yung ba, wala na, impress na, yan mo na yung mga ganyan. Alam mo yung mga ganyan mindset. Sa daming tao, na pwede mo isipin na mag-subscribe sa combination, permutation sa mga ganyan pag-iisip. Kaya nga Digong was able to maintain very high approval rating. Dagdag pa dyan yung climate of fear, because alam natin nung panahon ng pandemic, sabihin mo lang palpak yung Chinese vaccines or sabihin mo lang may nangyari sa Pharmali, pwede kang kasuhan ng cyber libel. And remember, may nagbiro na something harmful against the president, back then immediately inaresto sa ilalim ng cyber libel laws, diba? May anti-terror law ka pa, tapos meron ka pang ayuda situation kung saan baka yung iba natatakot kung magsalita, baka walang ayuda nila or ganun, ma-blacklist nila. Or worse, pwede ka ma-EJK. Nung time na, alam natin EJK nangyari nun, including nung time ng pandemic. So, but I think fear alone doesn't explain everything. I think ayuda alone doesn't explain everything. I think Digong was really a good communicator in a very budol performative way. He was classic performative. Parang stage actor siya di ba? Impression management. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Binibigyan ng impression ng tao na ang dami niyang ginagawa, na may malasakit siya, naawa siya. Pero siguro may malasakit naman siya, pero pwede mo talaga i-question gano'ng ka-competent si Digong. But because he was very good impression management, and then meron kang mga troll farms na busy, hindi na natutulog katulad ni Digong all the time, busy, active, mukhang well-oiled, well-compensated, of course, taos puso ginawa nila yan. You also had all of this fake news, disinformation online. Naalala ko, every time may lalabas na isang statistics na pinapakita na Pilipinas ang pinakapalpak sa mga Southeast Asian countries, no? In terms of response, ang gagawin ng mga troll farms is, hindi, pero tignan mo, ganito nangyari sa Italy, ganun kadami namatay. Or, oy, tignan mo, ganito nangyari sa US, ganitong kalaki yung economic depression. Pero, wait lang, Digong himself said na nga, you compare us to our peers. 'Di ba? In the same way na hindi mo pwede compare ang Pilipinas sa mga bansa na malaki yung kanilang elderly population na vulnerable sa demographically vulnerable sa pandemic, or countries na malaking welfare system nila, yung fiscal space nila to be able to respond to pandemic. You know, by the same logic also, better compare the Philippines actually to countries na similar sa atin. So if you look at Southeast Asia, or actually Asia-wide, India and Philippines, dalawang populist-led countries, were the worst performing, and yet silang pinakamataas ng approval rating and satisfaction ratings. If you look at the death rates, if you look at the economic contraction, 9 point something percent in Philippines in 2021, sorry, going to 22. And then in the case of India, almost 10%. So sobrang palpak yung mga gobyerno. And yet, ang taas ng approval ratings ng mga leaders nila. Yes, marami tayong mga kabayan abroad na wala naman sa bansa, hindi nila naranasan natin. Hindi ko alam kung ano nakita niyo sa community niyo. But yung sa community namin, for instance, sa isang banda sa QC, nako, meron mga armored vehicle dito, hindi ka pwede lumabas. Nakakatakot nung time na yun. Grabe, imagine mo, parang may military deployment pa. And then marami sa amin, I didn't get kahit isang, hindi ko naman sinabi na walang kwenta yung mayor namin sa QC, pero alas wala. No, but you would see the numbers na everyday, grabe yung kapalpakan ng gobyerno in terms of managing yung spread ng pandemic. Alam din natin, personally, for some of us who had to travel abroad, I only could travel, for instance, to Europe or some parts of the world only when I was able to get yung AstraZeneca vaccine, which was developed here sa Oxford. No? So parang, you could see talaga yung limitasyon, kapalpakan ng gobyerno, and then economic contraction. 9% economic contraction. Some of us, biglang wala ng trabaho, wala ng sahod, walang gano'n. Like, it was really, really tough. It was really, really tough. And you could really feel and sense it. In ways that, unfortunately, yung mga ibang kababayan natin who were based abroad and were relying on, I don't know, Mukha Uson or Banat Bay or Marlica or yung mga ganyan tipong mga, alam mo na, mga tao and then of course ano pa tong mga tao, mild pa yung mga may mga mas malala pa na mga fake news vloggers ganun. I mean seriously, when you look at those things, guys, you realize talagang impression management unfortunately works. If not Digong, think of yung kanyang sidekick photobomber ngayon na nagda-number 1 sa Senate, number 1 ganyan. Tapos ano purong ginagawa? Nagpo-photobomb dito, nagsi-selfie dyan, selfie dito, biglang may nangyari dito, biglang nandun na, nagbibigay ng, I don't know, libreng ganito, libreng ganyan. Impression management, 100% impression management. And unfortunately, sa panahon ngayon na sa daming avalanche of information, yung paradox of plenty, dahil sa daming mga information, daming news, hindi mo alam what is true, what is not, nagugulan ka na, doon magiging mas vulnerable ang taong bayan sa mga ganitong mga impression management expertise na yan eh. Kasi ang ginagawa ng performative governance is whether through troll farms, whether through, in the case of Digong, a very kumbaga talagang magaling na ng bubudol na magaling magbola-bola ng leader, and sometimes a combination of all of that plus climate of fear, blah blah blah, ayuda, etc. And then you have also the element of may mga thought leaders, some of them baka bayaran, some of them baka legit, na talagang believe sa ganitong sistema, and they will do the propaganda basically for the president, for the government. Say, napakagaling, tingnan mo, ganitong bansa, walang kwenta, ganito, ganyan. So, and what all of these people do is they appeal to your emotions, to your fears, to your aspirations, to your prejudice, to your frustrations. Pansin mo, hindi magaling, hindi mahilig sa mga legit na data-driven analysis yung mga ibang kaibigan natin dyan. Mahilig sila dyan sa, what about this? Or, yung mga dilawan, ganyan. Or, siguro yan. Or, minsan talagang basic fake news. Talagang totally fake news. And then worse, pag may nakritisa sa kanila, anong gagawin nila? Babastusin nila, bababuhin nila, sisirain nila, lahat gagawin nila para i-silence, i-shutdown, ganun. Kaya, nung time na yan, ang galing ng impression management. Kaya I was never surprised with Duterte's high approval ratings because the whole thing was a theater. Because for anyone like us who bothered to actually look at the data, the rankings, international rankings, mga oras, obvious talaga guys that something was fundamentally lacking there. Now, it's also interesting that when it comes to performative governments, like there's this serious track record of Digong, di ba? Sabi niya, kahit whiff of corruption, galit na galit siya, ganon. Pero ang dami natin mga cases whereby may opisyales nagtrabaho kay Digong, sangkot sa corruption or skandalo, tinanggal, next thing you know, na-reappoint. One person in particular, ni-google yan, 3 times na reappoint. 3 different department. Pumunta dito, nagka-scandal, pumunta sa tourism, nagka-scandal, biglang next thing you know, lumitaw dito. 'Di ba? Yung parang nagre-recycling sila, 'di ba? So, that's what I'm saying. So impression management is not only showing that supposedly your leader is great. It's also destroying the enemies and saying walang kwenta yung enemies mo. It is also, lakas ng sun sa likod bigla. It is also at the same time distorting people's conceptions of the status quo. Like what is happening? Wait lang. Masyadong bright. It is also distorting people's conception of reality. Right? Kaysa kunyari, i-compare mong Pilipinas sa mga similar countries. Hindi, compare natin sa ganito. Pick a worst, like I don't know, the worst case scenario somewhere in the first world na say, oh, buti nga tayo, hindi ganyan. Even though completely incomparable yung situation natin. Yung mga ganyan tabad na arguments, we saw for instance also in the case of federalism. Oh, but tingnan natin, I don't know, Switzerland, I don't know, Canada, blah blah blah. Ang galing-galing nila kasi federal sila, pero at the same time hindi minimension na may federal din tayo sa mga 10 other countries na medyo problematic, to put it mildly, right? We could talk about Brazil, we can talk about Iraq, we can talk about a number of other countries, di ba? Whereby they have federalized or federal style systems and total failure. So that's also impression management. Selective facts or distortion of selective facts or a combination of other things, di ba? Ayun nga, kasama pa yung mga troll dito na napakagaling magano. Sige lang. Oo. Parang sige lang. Troll din lang ako. Okay lang. Tayo naman mga tens of millions lang views natin, kaya lang. Hanggang dyan lang naman kaya. So, pasensya na. As if naman. I-upload ko naman yan later on. I mean, this is just the live version. Anyway, going back to this, guys. This is a structural problem. Dahil kung ang ating mga kababayan are not encouraged to look at the facts, to look at the reliable data, indices, experts, ganon, basically vulnerable tayo sa mga ganyang budol style politics. So, going back to Digong, clearly his pandemic management was a disaster. We can talk about Farmali. Oh, by the way, we can talk about Zaldico and Farmali and all of those issues. But first is on corruption issue. Ilang beses sabi ni Digong, nagalit ako sa corruption, whiff of corruption, blah, blah. But ilang beses nagkaroon ng tunay na investigasyon or how many big fish people na corrupt? Oh, you're saying there was no massive corruption during that time? Seriously? You want to check the Philippines Corruption Perception Index during Digong's time. It was just as bad, if not worse, than nowadays, to be honest. And yet, was there any genuine effort by Digong? Not even genuine. Did he even make any effort at all? Even papyaw lang, to fight against corruption? Was there any admission of massive corruption? And then, accordingly, was there an independent commission on this? Was there an instruction to the ombudsman back in the day? Ganyan. So, yeah, absolutely. We can criticize kakulangan na ICI. We can talk about, whether the ombudsman this and that. But during Digong's time, please show me any effort that to really deal with corruption, because everyone knows how serious the problem of corruption was throughout all administrations in the past decade or so. And some would say way worse during Digong time. So, there's a lot of data on that. Yung corruption costing us around 1 trillion pesos. Tagal na yung mga Tagal na yung mga studies na yan. Panon pa ni Digong, meron na tayong mga studies na ganun. So are you guys denying that there was like massive corruption in the Philippines 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? Kaya sabi ko, kung titignan yung Zaldico, Diskaya, all of itong mga tao na to, ang kanilang ligaya nagsimula talaga ng panon ni Digong eh. But if you don't want to believe it, okay, fine, no problem. Diba? But you can look at the Philippines corruption problem as early as 2017, 2018, 2016. Look at the Philippines corruption perception index. It actually deteriorated significantly during certain years, during Digong, all of that. Now, again, none of this means na yung ibang presidente natin ay napakagaling. Whether Pinoy, whether Marcos, whether, we can go on and on about that. But then again, for some reason, parang hindi naging masyadong issue yan because, Digong didn't even bother to do about it. And then, sobrang galing nila mag-convince ng tao na hindi naman issue yung corruption. Napakagaling ni Digong, napakalinis ni Digong, napakawalang confidential fund, yung confidential fund was not even an issue during Digong. Even though alam natin, daming kalokohan nangyari dyan. Kahit alam natin na lumobo ang corruption. I'm sorry, ng confidential fund. Of course. See, again, because the president constantly would distract people and make them focus on war on drugs, tapos yung mga kapalpakan sa West Philippine Sea, ganun. So again, these are all performative. These are all impression management, right? This is all theatrics. Treating politics like theatrics. But, having said that, it would be unfair to say na si Digong ang nagsimula or si Digong lang ang performative. What I was trying to do in this little discussion we have today is to show you that actually itong budol, performative kind of politics, matagal na yan sa ating sistema. In fairness, nauna pa yan. Matagal na yan. We have had milder versions of that. I don't know kung kilala nitong tao na to. Diba? We had milder versions of that. Interestingly, which at some point seemed as the inevitable winner right before Digong won. Right? Of course, you know who I'm talking about. I'm sorry, ng confidential phone. Yung ganyan. But ako, alam niyo na sino yan. Yung mga pa-cute, pa-cheese, ganun. Out of respect for family, I just put lang yung few seconds of si Mr. Forthwith, hindi ko na nilagay yung buong out of respect and all yan. But, naalala niyo yung mga pa-cute, mga say cheese, mga pa-cute, tapos meron kayong panon ni, di ba, ni Enrile, sabi niya, gusto ko lang, happy ka, yung mga ganon. Tapos yung isa naman, 8-8, tapos di ba, yung sayo niya ulit, di ba? Alam niya, yung mga pa-cute na yan, alright, yung mga pa-cute na yan, kasi ito, naglilinis nagmamal. Hanggang ngayon, nagpapakit, ganun pa rin yung pakit na, hindi na siya nag-upgrade Although baka yun lang talagang maximum na kaya niya. Pero, alam mo yan, diba? Yung mga buduts. Buduts is a form of pa-cute politics. Performative. Absolutely. It's literally a performance. Nagbubuduts-buduts ka, diba? Buduts-buduts ka. Bakit pa natin pag-usapan yung kakayahan mo? Bakit pa natin pag-usapan kung meron kang nagawa? Meron kang saysay sa Senado? Bakit natin pag-usapan? Mag-ibuduts mo na lang yan, diba? Kasi hindi gumana itong latest kasi hindi rin nag-upgrade. Isa sa mga dahilan na hindi na gumagana yung mga pa-cute pa-cheese, pa-cute na buduts is because nag-level up na yung ating budol politics since Digong, because Digong took it to the next level. Digong, by being not only a lawyer but also seeming strongman, seeming decisive leader, he was able to give a different kind of flavor and I would say as kind of poignancy and strength to this kind of budol performative politics. And not to mention the machine, the troll farm machine, yan lahat yung mga taksatan. And then unfortunately, of course, the whole alam na natin, kulto, basically. Tawagin natin ang kulto. Now, speaking of kulto, speaking of mutations, etc., the reality is, lumalala ang ganitong mga budol, pa-cute politics. But I would say, thankfully, it's not still the Duterte version. Now, kung nanalo, kung yung VP natin ngayon, yun na naging ex-president or something, which is not impossible, just being realistic about it, especially kung hindi naman mamulat ang mga ibang kaibigan natin dyan, na proud. Alam mo, yung iba, marami, kung masama yung mga presidente natin, ang kawawa yung taong bayan. Alright? Yung iba sa amin, we can, we're global scholars, we're global experts. We can be anywhere we want. It's not about us. It's about the national interest. So, please lang, ang iyak dyan ay kayo. Hindi ko alam sa mga troll farms, pero yung mga ating mga kababayan na who don't have many options and will be stuck with the worst consequences having bad leaders. But going back to this, guys, what we're seeing right now is just almost a circus. It's a total circus, right? So you see this kind of a circus-like situation whereby you go from, all of this Digong thing, blah, blah, blah. And then now you have like this, mga young guns, mga ganon, nepo, tagita. Dagita. Ito pang mga military, impressed na impressed. At totoo pala may pokis, in general ba yan? Ayan, talagang impressed kay Kuya. Talagang Barzaga, good governance, champion, mga ganyan. Yamet, Nagita. Yamet. I mean, for me, there's a Duterte way of doing performative budol politics. And then there's a parang yung mutated version ng mga budots, 'di ba? And I think kanina lang nakita natin or tingin ng iba. Although hindi naman siguro related 'yan. Pero interesting yan na talagang hindi natatapos ang ano natin, ha? Interesting ang ating ito. The Innocent talaga. The Innocent. Wait lang. Right. Ba't nawala ito? Ito talagang panalo to.
Kahapon, narinig natin.
Ba?
Kahapon,
Ang galing talaga ninyo.
kahapon, narinig natin. There are 297 ghost super health centers. Non-operational. Ano ba yan? Anong tingin niyo sa amin? Wala namang karapatan ang mga anak ng Diyos na magkaroon ng righteous indignation. Hindi po tayo masisinda. Hindi po tayo matatakot. Nung dumating yung flood control, binabanggit nga ni Senator Alan, bago pa siya umalis sa Senado, bago maging DFA Secretary, puro speech lang si Joel Villanueva. 2023, panay speech na ni Joel Villanueva sa flood control. Sino ba ang unang nag-expose ng flood control?
Aba, mga DDS talaga.
Sino ba ang unang nagsabi
Napakagaling.
there is 1.44 billion pesos a day?
Siyempre, DDS.
Budget of the government sa flood control.
Galing. DDS nga.
Tapos ngayon, kasali ka daw. Eh di wow. Kaya ko pong tingnan ang bawat isa sa inyo dito, mga kapwa kong JIL. Mata sa mata. Wala tayong flood control. Hindi tayo sangkot sa katiwalian. Hindi kayang bilhin ng salapi.
Iba yung iba ang ipopost ko na lang ang video, panoorin na lang, napakagaling napakahusay, napaka-convincing, napaka I mean, ano pa bang masabi natin? Andito na lahat, guys. Tapos na, huwag na tayo magsalita, huwag na tayo mag-usap. Tapos na. Booyaka siya, it's over. It's over. It's over. Now, I would say things are quite interesting. Now, so we have many interesting varieties of great leaders na nag-rise nowadays. Nasaan yung isa? Yung may press conference, tapos biglang may tumawag, tapos biglang spontaneous, mga ano. Ito.
Yes, sir. Basta, sir, ang...
Aba,
Okay.
guys, mag-press conference ka.
Secretary Dizon is aware that members of his team are
Okay po. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Basta, sir, ang gusto ko, transparency and equitable allocation ng budget ng DPWH. Ayaw ko
taray.
paboran lang ang aking distrito. Gusto ko wala ng korupsyon sa buong bansa.
Yun. Booyaka siya. Galing, ha? Oo. Press conference. Tawag-tawag. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Galing.
Yes, sir. Basta, sir, pag may savings, sana po, matulungan natin ang buong bansa pag may savings, pag bawasan natin ang presyo sa DPWH.
Oh dear, my small business owner.
Anyways, guys, di na ako magsalita, di na kailangan mag-explain. Alam niyo na. Ganito na lang, kung if you're a critical thinking person and if you're really following ano yung mga nangyayari sa ating bansa, kung tinitignan mo talaga ang mga bagay-bagay, mga development sa ating bansa, kung tinitignan mo talaga sino ba talaga yung may kredibilidad, sino ba talagang for good governance, sinong lumaban both sa Team Kadiliman at Team Kasamaan, sinong consistently nag-question ng both Duterte and Marcoses, sinong consistent nag-question ng bad governance, sinong consistent nag-push ng mga kung ano ng bagay to bring down corruption, then you'll have a better idea of what is budol, what is not, what is real, what is not, right? And you'll also understand, at the same time, maintindihan mo rin bakit ganito ang bansa natin, unfortunately. I think it's very, very sad to see na basically theatrics na lang. I mean, hindi na mawawalang performance. I mean, obviously, people watch you because you want to be, you need to be interesting, etc. Gets ko naman yan Bawal maging boring. Gets ko yan. But I hope, guys, we don't forget that what's more important than entertaining, catchy. Kasi ang dali magpapogi Ang dali magdrama Ang dali gumawa ng kung ano ng video dyan, ganyan, blah, blah, blah. Gumawa ng kwento. Ang mahirap gawin is actually be an effective and good statesman, especially in the 21st century. And that's what I'm saying, guys. Kung hindi natin supportahan yung mga tunay na leaders, if we keep on falling for what is the latest hype, and dito talaga I blame a lot of I'm all for questioning the mainstream media, which is far from perfect, but believe me, hindi necessarily better ang mga vloggers or mga alternative media, considering how much a lot of these vloggers I know, even people who should know better, alam nila sino yung mga yan, they easily fall for a hype. Oh, si ganito. Oh, basta medyo maitsura daw. I mean, just kung mga standards pa natin sa bansa natin. Basta may konting itsura daw, parang may itsura naman lahat ng tao, lang wala kang itsura. Or konting ay na, magaling yan, leader yan. Or, yung sinabi niya talaga, good, supportan. Yeah, but are they sincere? What is their track record? What do they really stand for? Because otherwise, if you don't do your due diligence, and nagpapa-hype ka lang, good luck na lang sa ating bansa. You know, to be honest, magre-real talk talaga tayo, guys, before we close this session, kasi alam ko medyo late tayo nag-start. Guys, let's be honest. Kung nagpapadala lang tayo sa, papogi lang, pa-cute lang, di wag na tayo magtataka na ganito yung style of leadership natin ngayon, di ba? Di tayo magtataka na mabubudol na naman tayo sa susunod na elections. Di ba? Hindi tayo magtataka na hindi tayo nagde-develop bilang isang bansa. So, yun ang sinasabi ko, guys, Yes, let's support the right cause. Yes, I support anyone who's strongly against corruption. But dapat may credibility ka. Dapat may competence ka. Dapat may track record ka At kung madali tayong magpabudol, if we're gonna just believe anyone who suddenly nag-pop up out of nowhere and biglang, anti-corruption, when it's very convenient to be anti-corruption, biglang, may press conference, biglang may mga vlogging, may rally sa force, may ganun-ganun, nagpapakyut, nagpapa-epal, tapos impress tayo kagad. Kung ganito tayo, we're just gonna go through cycles and cycles and cycles of populist performative governance. And in the meantime, hindi naayos ang problema natin. Hindi gumaganda yung ekonomiya natin. Hindi naging more inclusive yung democracy natin. Hindi naging more inclusive yung development natin. And worse, sometimes, as in 2016, and very probable, or at least very possible in 2028, that we might fall for another budol kind of leader who will have devastating impact on our country in terms of human rights, economy, institutions, etc. But because magaling mag-impression management, because magaling magbudol, they'll get away with it, and worse than that, they'll even be heroes. They'll build their cults. They'll build their whole troll farms and disinformation landscape. And in the meantime, kawawang taong bayan. So I think it's very, very important, guys, that we exercise due diligence. And as much as I'm very critical of shortcomings ng mainstream media, academia, lahat kami, who are supposedly in the business of policy analysis and all, yes, lahat kami na kulang, wala naman perfecto. I'm even more disappointed with my fellow vloggers and other people who easily fall for what is the latest hype or latest pakyut or latest epal moves or latest PR stunts, mga ganon. Because you're actually feeding and enabling a performative, populist, pakyut kind of governance that will not help this country in the long run. Will not help. Parang Dolomite yan Parang Dolomite Beach yan Baka magandang tignan, baka nga masarap sa pakiramdam mo, white sand beach ka dyan sa sa Ross Boulevard, pero kung ginamit mo yung utak mo, alam mo na sayang ginastos na pera, ecologically damaging, at pangatlo actually hazardous, health hazard, na mag-swim ka, magpakyut ka dyan sa Dolomite Beach. It's that kind of Dolomite populism, which is always my worry. And unfortunately, nagpadala tayo sa Dolomite populism not once, twice. And if we fall for it again, one more time, 2028, we'll lose a whole generation's opportunity to fix our fundamentals. Again, none of this says na things were perfect or good before all of this budol populism came over. In fact, the very reason nagkaroon tayo ng budol populism is precisely because nakulang yung mga reformist administrations, liberal administrations. But to go from that to something way worse, that's not the solution. That's not the solution. So, hindi natin gagamitin yung utak natin, hindi tayo maging critical thinking, folks. If we don't pierce through the veil of budol, we will just jump from one form of budol populism to another form of budol populism, and in the meantime, kawawang bansa. Kawawang bansa. So, yeah, go ahead, criticize academics. Academics, boring, di magaling ganyan. Media, may ganyan. But I'm sorry, the vlogger culture, and of course, ito mga to, hindi pa sila the whole celebrity culture we have, the whole mediocrity culture we have, kasi ayoko rin, hindi pwede i-blame mo lang yung troll farms and all because the troll farms and all unfortunately are always going to be there. But if others held the line, if in the media, the vloggers, everyone did their job well, properly, hindi tayo magpapabudol. Ang problema, nakikisakay pa sa budol for the engagement, for the gram, right? So, yun ang sinasabi kong problema nowadays. So, if we don't do something about it, lalala ito. We're gonna have even more clown shows. We're gonna have even more mutations of the kind of boodle populism that they're had, and things could get even worse down the road if we don't do something about it. Hamon din yan sa iba, especially yung mga tao na talaga may competence, may kakayan, may credibility to also up their game. I think there's a lot that we can learn from the clowns, including how to be more engaging, more accessible. But at the end of the day, responsibilidad din ng taong bayan, responsibilidad din ng mga opinion makers, vloggers, and mga others to actually promote the real, the legit ones. At hindi nagpapabudol, or worse, hindi sumasakay sa budol or hindi nag-reinforce ng budol. On that note, maraming salamat. Thank you very much. I hope you appreciated this latest episode natin. I know sometimes medyo late tayo, medyo nagde-develop tayo ng arguments, maybe not as fast as you would want, but this is what we're trying to do here. Right? So wala akong pakingong late at night, mga 12 lang nanood, isa lang nanood. Okay lang sa akin yan. At the end of the day, what's important is that we get this out of our system. We build these kinds of discussions at ma-normalize natin ang critical. Hindi lang critical. Ay, madali lang sabihin na critical thinking ka eh. But you need to do your proper studies eh. You have to understand bakit tayo umabot sa ganitong sitwasyon. Dapat maintindihan natin saan tayo papunta kung hindi natin ayusin yung mga problema natin ngayon. Dapat maintindihan natin bakit ganito yung mga uri ng ating mga problema. At dapat maintindihan natin ano yung mga false solutions na actually pwede mag-contribute dun sa further deterioration ng ating democratic system. Right? So, yun ang parating sinasabi. Kaya nga, in the same breath, sabi ko, napaka-simplistic rin na sabihin mo, corruption is the cause of our evil. Corruption is an evil which actually tends to be more caused by other factors than not. Yes, there's a correlational relationship. Pero nakita ko naman, dami nag-react na naman dun sa interview natin kay Dr. Felipe Jesus, dating top economist sa Asian Development Bank, ngayon professor sa LaSalle, way more cited than most of these local commentators, blah, blah, blah. Legit economist. And basically his argument is that, yes, masamang corruption, maimpyerno ka, totoo yan. Pero nga, nagkakaroon ng corruption dahil there are other things that are going wrong also. Walang rule of law, walang critical thinking, walang scrutiny, right? And then, of course, there's general poverty, not only economically, but also in terms of information, in terms of critical thinking. So all of those things contribute to a climate. So corruption could cause some problems or contribute to some problems, but it is in itself a reflection of more fundamental problems. So yung lack of critical thinking cuts across different political persuasions. Hindi lang yung mga ka-DDS natin ay medyo kulang sa appreciation sa facts, data-driven analysis. To be honest, I think generally we have a poverty of proper policy, public policy-based analysis, right? So on that note, maraming salamat guys. Thank you very much and talk to you soon. Tomorrow naman, God willing, we're gonna have Attorney Christina Conti back with us again on this program to discuss itong mga latest rulings sa ICC, the big wins in many ways for the ICC, and the fact na mukhang ma-archive na si yung Budol King na yan. But also what is in store, what are things that are important. And of course, Attorney Conti also is a progressive advocate. So kausapin din natin siya about other issues, including ito sa issue ng corruption and how to fight it best. Maraming salamat. God bless. And talk to you soon. Thank you very much again sa lahat ng mga sumuporta sa atin.